In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Well, our saint for today, Saint Venantius, is an early martyr of the Church, who died on this day around the year 250 in the city of Camerino, Italy. And we have the idea very often that the martyrs of the early Church, martyrs in general, are strong, courageous men and women, boldly giving their lives for Christ. But today's saint, today's martyr, was a mere boy of 15 years old, a young, tender lad who, however, being filled with the strength and the grace of Christ, became that strong hero. So this was during the persecution of Decius, and he was denounced to the prefect of his city as a Christian. And this is the first glimpse of his courage, being filled with the courage of Christ. He did not wait to be arrested, but presented himself beforehand to the governor. Because of his youth, the governor wanted to take pity on him. He was first threatened, but then he stood firm, given promises, still remained steadfast, and so the prefect had him beaten with rods and scourged and thrown in prison. However, as we hear many times in the Gospels, who will rescue our feet from the snare of the wicked, Venantius was miraculously delivered by an angel, and his jailers, captors were confounded. So they immediately began searching for him, and he was soon apprehended again, unafraid of captivity or torments or death. And this time, after being captured the second time, he was hung upside down over a fire and burned with torches. He was again presented before the prefect, who was furious this time, and broke all his teeth and both jaws, and then had him thrown into a cesspool. Disgusting. Some accounts also have him being thrown to the lions, which did not touch him, and he was even thrown off a cliff, which failed to achieve the result of death. So they tried to kill him, but the Lord rescued his soul every time. So again he was in prison, and again he was rescued by an angel. Again they searched for him, and brought him one last time before the prefect, who could no longer contain believe his utter astonishment at these miraculous escapes, these deliverances, the preservation of death from St. Venantius. So when Venantius was brought before the prefect, he fell out of his judgment seat, shrieking, and cried out, "The God of Venantius is true, our gods are false." And whereupon the prefect then died. Thus is shown the power of God. But also, St. Venantius was not to be denied his glorious crown of martyrdom, so he, along with 10 others, were finally martyred by beheading. He was buried outside the city of Camerino, where to this day he is venerated as its patron saint. So we recall, as I mentioned, that it is God who gives strength and courage. We do not produce it ourselves. It seems St. Venantius perhaps was a young lad of a more courageous constitution, but it is impossible for anyone to withstand the torments, the tortures, and the death for Christ, while at the same time maintaining perfect peace and serenity, and even a love for their tormentors. And that is indeed the hallmark of all Christian martyrs. It is not just strength and courage, but it's all the virtues, its meekness, its patience, its kindness, even in the midst of their torments. And so that is the hallmark, that this is indeed not virtue of ours, but it is virtue that God has given to us. And the introit for today also gives us an important lesson, which is because we hear these accounts of martyrs giving their lives, and we think, well, why didn't God rescue them? But He does, right? We see multiple times Venantius was rescued miraculously out of jail twice, from the lions, from being thrown off a cliff. But what's not important is so much the body, but the soul. And so in the introit for today, we read in part, "Hear, O God, my prayers, when I make supplication to Thee, deliver my soul from the fear of the enemy." Not deliver my body, but deliver my soul. And notice, too, it's not just the enemy, but even the fear of the enemy. For very often, fear paralyzes us and causes us to capitulate, not to stand firm in the faith, because we fear what may happen to the body. But if we are properly thinking that it is the soul which is important more than the body, we're not going to fear what happens to the body, and also just being delivered not only from death but from fear is important. Venantius didn't hesitate. He went to the governor and presented himself ahead of time. That is showing. That's definitely showing. That's no fear right there. We hear that, like, no fear. Saint Venantius right there displayed it. So let us ask for that. Let us ask for that courage, that boldness that brings the witness of Christ, which is what enabled the church to spread in the first place. This is what causes conversions, is the boldness of Christ in us, shining forth, converting others, making them realize that indeed the God of the Catholic Church is true and all other gods are false. Let us pray to St. Venantius to be filled with God's courage even as he was. God bless you all in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.